Welcome back to Newswire. We continue with our continuing coverage of the battle for Alberta today. It's election day after all, and the polls have been open for quite some time now. A record turnout in the advanced polls will hopefully replicate itself in the turnout today. The battle for Alberta is at its crescendo, and with more on this, I'm joined from Calgary by the host of The Source, Ezra Levant. How's it feel to be back at home, Ezra?
Oh, it's great. You know what? It's ridiculous. I commute back and forth from Calgary to work in Toronto, but this is my home base, and I'm in the heart of Wildrose country. I mean, there's so many Wildrose signs on my block. Today, though, I saw PC signs sprout up all along the main roads on public property. I guess they had a lot of signs left over. Not a lot of folks were taking them on their private property. You know what? The polls were tightening up in the final days, but look, I think the Wildrose is going to take my city of Calgary and much of the rural parts. That's basically two-thirds of the seats of this province. It's over.
Well, Ezra, that's one of the things that a lot of the pundits were talking about, is that Calgary would be the tipping point in this election, the deciding factor. And if the Wildrose does show well there, they don't necessarily have to win, but show well, well, that would be it for the PCs.
Well, look, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a bit of an enthusiast. I wouldn't call myself a party member, but I'm certainly a party sympathizer. I want the Wildrose to win for a whole bunch of ideological reasons. But last time I was this confident, I got to be honest, I thought that Senator Patrick Brazeau would cling Justin Trudeau's clock, and I was surprised. So listen, take my predictions with a grain of salt. I've got to make up for that wrong prediction. But look, this is not about boxing. This is about a 28-day campaign that literally every single poll has shown the Wildrose ahead. They've just connected better with voters. And look, after 41 years, Brian, there's a thirst for change out here. Our own friend Michael Corrin put it well. This is not so much a test between parties as between philosophies about how you deal with the voters. Do you have contempt for voters? Do you despise them? Or do you respect them? And the party that's been in power for 41 years has started to treat the public purse like their own dough. And they're contemptuous of direct democracy. They say they're, quote, frightened of the grassroots. The Wildrose has that Reform Party spirit to it, which Albertans like, maybe not in other provinces, but in Alberta, it's pretty popular.
Well, you know, Ezra, you bring up a couple of good points there, and the one I want to focus on is that, you know, this is the Progressive Conservative Party that has been in power for 41 years. And as you said, many people think that they've kind of lost one half of that nom de plume. The Conservative side, what's happened there?
Well, for sure. I mean, a staggering statement by Premier Alison Redford just a few days ago. She said that she could work in a minority government in a coalition with either the NDP or the Liberals, but not with the Wildrose. So she's basically admitted everything her critics have accused her of, which is being a lefty. And, you know, listen, there's room for left-wingers in Alberta, but only on the opposition benches. I know that sounds funny. It's just the way we are out here. We're a free market, personal freedom, small government kind of province. And when Alison Redford says that she thinks she can do business with the Liberals and NDP, I guess putting some of them in her cabinet, but she doesn't feel she can do the same with the Wildrose, I think she tips her hat. You know, I'm just looking at the lawn signs as I drive around Calgary. The PC colors used to be blue with a little splash of orange. Now they're orange with a splash of blue. I mean, Alison Redford is trying to tap into that orange crush. You know, that might work in places like Quebec, but it ain't going to work in Alberta. That's my prediction. Now, I could be wrong. Polls are open for at least another 9 more hours. I think if my math is right, 10 hours. But I think this city, at least, is going Wildrose green.
Ezra, as we've been talking about throughout the day as we cover this election from start to finish, you and Brian Lilly are out there, and you're going to be hosting our coverage for Sun News Network tonight. What can we expect from both you and Brian?
Well, look, Brian's a little bit more grown up than me, so he'll be more down the middle and neutral. I'm going to be rambunctious. I'm going to be telling jokes and making fun of the PCs, and that's okay, though, because at the Sun, we're a little bit more irreverent than some of the other parties. We're going to cover the heck out of this thing. We already are. This is not just important to Albertans. It's important for the whole country, because Alberta is often a bellwether when it comes to conservative politics in Canada. I mean, remember, our Prime Minister's from Alberta, the Chief Justice of our Supreme Court is from Alberta, the Chairman of the Bank of Canada, Board of Governors is from Alberta. Alberta is a leading province, so the way this province goes today, well, maybe other provinces will go tomorrow and 5 years from now.
Well, Ezra, I got to get you on this point because you brought it up. You talk about the conservative movement in Canada. Is the fact that the progressive conservatives in Alberta, a strong conservative province, is not what they used to be? Does that speak to the conservative movement in Canada in general? Is there an issue there?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a rift between the PC party of Alberta and the federal Conservatives. In fact, Tom Olson, one of the spokesmen for Alison Redford, has disparaged Deborah Gray, for example, and said she's a relic of the past, and has talked about those right-wingers and extremists and bigots. That's the language that is used to criticize the federal Conservatives. So you haven't seen a lot of federal Conservatives sticking up for their provincial cousins. They're sort of estranged cousins. And, that's too bad for the for the provincial PCs, because let me put it this way. In the last election, Stephen Harper got 67% of the vote. The provincial PCs are at less than half that. So it looks like they're betting on uniting the left. Well, that might not pay off. I don't think it will.
Ezra, you may think of yourself as a jokester, but, you look back in history, usually the smartest man at court was the court jester.
Thanks, my friend. That's a friendly compliment.
Not a problem. You take care, Ezra.
Bye-bye.
All right, that's Ezra Levant, the host of The Source, and the host, our co-host of our continuing coverage of the Alberta election tonight, along with Brian Lilly.